Let's see today the angles here, units of measurement of angles. Units of measurement of angles we have two. We know from the beginning that we always knew it's degrees. We always knew the units of measurement are degrees, which we are familiar with this. And now the new unit of measurement we'll use will be radians. So angles can be measured with degrees and with radians. So let's see what a radian is. If I had a unit circle, if this is center and this is R, this is also R, which is the radius. If the length of this arc is also R, then this angle subtends this arc. So if this is R, this is R. The length of this arc, not the straight segment, the length of the arc is R. Then we make here 1 radian. Then this is 1 radian. 1 radian is this angle subtended by the length of the arc, which is R. So if the angle was 360 degrees for the whole angle here, if my central angle is 360 degrees, then what would happen? It will be the circle would be the circumference. So 1 revolution, which is the circumference, and the circumference we know is 2 pi r. Therefore, now how many radians do we have? So in this one here, arc length, the 1 radian is arc length is r divided by the radius, which is r over r, which is 1 radian. 1 r over r. Therefore, arc length over radius, which means r over r will be 1. If it was circumference, how many radians is in 1 revolution? 1 revolution is arc length is 2 pi r divided by r. R and R they cross out, which is 2 pi. So 1 revolution will be 2 pi radians. So we say my angle is 2 pi radians. We don't put the word radians, but it is radians, 2 pi radians. So if 2 pi is equivalent to 360 degrees, then we know pi is 180. That's why we say always pi is 180 degrees. So now in measures, which means pi is 180, means pi in degrees is 180 degrees. Pi in radians is 3.14 radians. That's why we have 3.14. We have 180 degrees or 3.14 radians. Okay, now we'll use our angles exactly the same like we did, but we'll convert them to radians. So if I want to say the basic angles here, if this was 0 degrees, it will be 0 radians. If this was 30 degrees, 30 is compared to pi. Pi is 180, which is 1/6 of 180, pi over 6. 45 degrees. Compared to 180, it's 1/4 of 180. 60 degrees. It's 1/3 of 180. 90 degrees. It is half of 180. Pi. 180 degrees, which is pi, and so on. So, how do I convert now radian to degrees? To convert radian to degrees, what do? We multiply by 180 over pi. Let's see, if I have 3 over 2 pi, practically if there is pi, I can just substitute it with 180. Or I can say 3 over 2 pi times 180 over pi, where pi and pi they cross out. Then we have 90 times 3, which is, I cross out here, 90, and then 270 degrees. Pi and pi they cross out. If I have 3.8 rad, I change this one to degrees. 3.8 times 180 over pi, which is equal to 217.8 degrees. This is rad to degrees. Let's say the similar way, degrees to radians. To degrees to radians, we do the opposite. Multiply by pi over 180. Okay, let's say I have 150 degrees. 150 degrees will be 150 times pi over 180, which is equal to 5 over 6 pi. It doesn't matter if they are exact or not. They can be 42 degrees. It will be 42 times pi over 180, and I do the calculation. Okay, let's now determine the angles. If the domain is given in rad for 0 degrees less than or equal to theta less than or equal to 2 pi. 2 pi means 360 degrees. So our theta must be in radians, whatever we find. Theta. So in similar way like what we have seen for degrees, it's exactly the same rule. Whenever we have acute angle here we have always pi minus theta. Here my angle is always pi plus theta. Here my angle is always 2 pi minus theta. And this is my related angle. Theta here. Okay, so if I had find cosine of 2 over 3 pi. 2 over 3 pi will be in which quadrant? I say that's the first question I ask. 2 over 3 pi. 2 over 3 pi is in the second quadrant. My acute angle is, this would be 3 over 3 if it was 1 pi, but 1 over 3 is missing. So my acute angle is pi over 3. Or you can change it to degrees to visualize where it is. I can substitute. Pi is 180. 180 divided by 3 is 60. 60 times 2, 120. 120 degrees is in the second quadrant. So this is the same as 120 or 2 over 3 pi. So I say now, since in the second quadrant, my angle is, since related angle is pi over 3, okay, so in the second quadrant, my angle will be opposite of cosine pi over 3 because it's negative, which is minus 1 over 2. In the second quadrant, cosine is negative. Cosine negative means in relation to the related angle. Related angle is pi over 3, so it's minus cosine of pi over 3. B sine of 7 over 6 pi. 7 over 6 pi is in the third quadrant. I can visualize it by changing to degrees, which is 210 degrees. So this one, the acute angle is pi over 6, because 8, this will be 7 over 7 will be 1. What's missing to be 1? 1 over 6. So pi over 6 is my related angle. So related angle is pi over 6. So now in terms of related angle, this angle here will be a negative because sine is negative here. So sine 7 over 6 pi will be minus sine of pi over 6. Pi over 6 is the same as 30 degrees. Sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. So minus 1 over 2. Tan 7 over 4 pi. 7 over 4 pi. 7 over 4 is 8 over 4 would be 2 pi. 7 over 4. In order to be 8 over 4, we miss only 1/4. Therefore, my acute angle is pi over 4. So my angle is this one here. So this angle tangent is negative, therefore negative in relation to the acute angle. My related acute angle is pi over 4, therefore tan 7 over 4 pi is negative of tan pi over 4, which is minus 1. So these are all special angles. If they are not special angles, it would be exactly the same. Let's see, determine the angles in radians. So if they are not exact angles, change your calculator to rad mode. Change your calculator to rad mode, because we need our angles in radians. So if I have sine of angle theta is 0.86, remember my domain is the same as we said before, 0 less than or equal to theta less than or equal to 2 pi, which is in radians. Therefore this is sine is positive, therefore it should be the first quadrant and in the second quadrant. I find my related angle in radian. Sine minus 1 of 0.86, which is 1.035. These are rad. I don't write rad, but they're in radians. So my acute angle is 1.035, 1.035. So my first angle is 1.035. My second angle is pi minus 1.035, which is 2.104. Cosine of theta is minus 75.754. Since cosine is negative, cosine is negative in the second quadrant and in the third quadrant. Cosine is negative here and here. Therefore, I find my acute angle without the negative. Related acute angle is cos minus 1 of 0.754, which is 0.7160. So my first angle is in the second quadrant, therefore pi minus 0.7160, which is equal to 2.42. My second angle is in the third quadrant, which is pi plus 0.7160, which is 3.856 radians. If I had a reciprocal function, it would be the same. Secant of theta is 2 over root 3. In this case, I can see that this is a special angle, because I can tell from here cosine of the angle is root 3 over 2. And we know root 3 over 2 is ratio of special angle. And cosine is positive, which means cosine is here, cosine is positive here. So my acute angle, I say cosine of what angle is root 3 over 2? In degrees, we know cosine of 30 degrees, which is pi over 6. Which is pi over 6. Therefore, my first angle is in the first quadrant, which is pi over 6. My second angle will be 2 pi minus pi over 6, which is 11 over 6 pi. So these are the basic things we should know.